What if I told you there is a lighthouse where the light has been dead for years, yet sailors still see a glow from its broken tower? A place where a voice, soft and beautiful, drifts through the storm, but those who follow it are never seen again. Tonight, you will step inside that cursed lighthouse, where the walls breathe with secrets and the silent siren waits in the dark. Will you dare to hear her song to the very end? Stay with me, because what you are about to witness will chill you long after the story ends. And do not forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with others who love the dark and the mysterious, because the Silent Siren sings for all who listen. The night was heavy. The sea stretched like a black mirror, endless and restless. Waves crashed against sharp rocks, throwing salt into the cold air. The old lighthouse stood at the edge of the cliff, its shadow towering against the stormy sky. Its beam no longer shone. Locals said the light had died years ago. They whispered that the keeper never left. Some swore they still saw him standing by the lantern room, even though he was buried long ago. Elias, a traveler from far inland, had come to see it for himself. He felt the wind claw at his coat as he climbed the narrow path. Each step echoed against stone, as if the cliff itself breathed beneath his boots. The door of the lighthouse groaned open, though he never touched it. The air inside was thick, cold, carrying the faint scent of salt and rust. The staircase spiraled upward, wrapped in shadows. He lit a small lantern, its flame trembling as if afraid. The walls were damp, streaked with black moss. Every step creaked, like bones breaking beneath weight. Halfway up, he froze. A sound drifted through the dark. Not a wave. Not the wind. It was a voice. Low. Distant. Singing. A melody without words, rising and falling like the tide. His chest tightened. The flame shook harder. The song pulled at him, both gentle and sharp. Like fingers tracing his mind. Like hooks beneath his skin. He forced himself higher, toward the lantern room. The song grew clearer. A woman's voice. Beautiful. Haunting. But when he reached the iron door at the top, the singing stopped. Silence pressed against his ears. He pushed the door open. The lantern room was empty. The glass windows were shattered, rain and wind pouring inside. The great light stood broken, rusted gears frozen in time. But the air carried a faint hum, like the echo of a voice that had only just left. And then, something moved in the reflection of the glass shards. Not his own face. Not anything human. Elias stepped closer to the shards. The reflection trembled, as if the broken glass were still alive. A pale figure flickered inside the jagged mirror. Long hair floated as though underwater. Eyes dark as the abyss. Her lips did not move, yet the hum pressed into his ears. It swelled, vibrating against his skull. He staggered back, clutching his lantern. The flame dimmed, almost snuffed out. The figure raised a hand in the glass. Slender fingers touched the inside of the reflection. The surface rippled like water. Elias felt the cold brush of skin on his own cheek. He gasped, heart pounding. The shard nearest him cracked, a thin line spreading like lightning. Her eyes locked on his. A silence filled the room, deeper than any storm. Then, a whisper. It did not come from her lips. It came from inside his mind. Stay. The word froze his breath. His body refused to move. The lantern slipped from his hand and shattered. Darkness swallowed the room. And in that darkness, the whisper grew louder. Stay, forever. A sudden crash shook the tower. Waves roared below, striking the cliff like thunder. Elias felt the floor tilt, as though the lighthouse itself were leaning toward the sea. Behind him, the staircase groaned. One step cracked. Then another. Something was climbing. Slow. Heavy. Closer. And closer. Elias spun toward the staircase. The spiral of iron and stone vanished into blackness. But the sound was clear. Deliberate. A step dragging. Another grinding against the metal. Closer with each breath. The air grew heavier, thick with the scent of seawater and rust. Elias pressed against the wall, searching for a weapon, a way out. Only broken glass. Only shadows. The steps halted. Silence. Then a hand appeared, pale and dripping, gripping the railing. Water streamed from its fingers, pooling across the floor. Elias's throat tightened. The hand was followed by an arm. Then a figure, climbing slowly, face hidden in the dark. But the sound of the song returned. It was not echoing now. It was right there, behind the figure's teeth. The song vibrated the walls, rattled the broken lanterns. Elias stumbled back until his shoulders struck the cold frame of the shattered light. The figure lifted its head. Long strands of wet hair clung to its face. Eyes glowed faintly, like embers beneath the sea. And then the song stopped. The silence pressed harder than the sound ever had. Elias dared to whisper, "Who are you?" The figure opened its mouth. No words came. Only seawater poured out, rushing across the floor, rising to his ankles. The lighthouse groaned, ancient stones straining as if the ocean itself was climbing with her. The figure stepped closer, leaving ripples across the flooded floor. And behind her, in the black of the stairwell, more hands began to rise. The water reached Elias's knees. Cold. Biting. Every breath sent chills through his chest. The figure stepped closer, her feet leaving no sound, only ripples. Her eyes did not blink. They burned with a strange hunger, fixed on him. Behind her, the staircase writhed with pale hands. Dozens. Maybe more. Each gripping the railing, pulling shadowy shapes upward. The air was filled with a low hum, a chorus that made the glass shiver. Elias backed against the rusted lantern frame, his boots slipping on wet stone. The sea water swirled around him, carrying the smell of salt and decay. Then, the siren's lips parted. This time, she spoke. Her voice was soft, smooth as velvet. "You heard my song. Now you belong." Elias shook his head, forcing words through trembling lips. "No, I do not. You are not real." Her smile widened, sharp and cold. She raised her hand, palm open, and the water surged. It climbed higher. To his waist. To his chest. The lantern room shuddered as the walls groaned beneath the force. The broken glass reflected dozens of faces now, faces of sailors, pale and lifeless, their mouths open in silent screams. The hands on the stairwell pulled themselves higher. Bodies emerged. Men. Women. All drenched, their skin grey and swollen, eyes empty. They moved without sound, without hesitation, drawn toward him. The siren's song returned, soft at first, then rising like a storm. Elias clamped his hands over his ears. It did not help. The sound was not in the air. It was inside his head. Inside his bones. He screamed, but the waves swallowed his voice. And still she moved closer, until her face was inches from his. Her eyes glowed brighter, reflecting his terror. And her whisper cut through the roar. "Breathe deep, and drown." Elias's lungs burned. The water surged past his shoulders, freezing, crushing. He gasped for air, but the siren's hand pressed lightly against his chest. The touch was soft, yet it felt like iron. The command echoed again. "Breathe deep." His mouth opened against his will. Salt water flooded in, cold and sharp, filling his throat, forcing down into his chest. He thrashed, clawing at her arm, but her skin was slick, impossible to hold. The drowned figures reached the top of the staircase. They spilled into the lantern room, circling him. Eyes vacant. Mouths dripping streams of seawater. Their feet never touched the floor. They drifted just above it, pulled forward by the siren's song. The water rose higher. Over his chin. Over his mouth. Over his nose. Dark waves pressed against the shattered windows, as though the sea had climbed the cliff to join her. Elias's vision blurred. His chest convulsed. Every nerve screamed for air. The siren leaned closer, her lips nearly brushing his ear. Her voice was a whisper and a roar all at once. "Now, you are mine." His last breath burst in a stream of bubbles. Blackness closed in. But just before the world vanished, something changed. The siren froze. Her glowing eyes shifted. Confusion spread across her face. Her song faltered, a single note breaking. The drowned figures stopped moving. And Elias felt the water around him shiver, as if something else was stirring beneath the waves. The water trembled. A deep rumble rose from beneath the cliff, shaking the lighthouse walls. The siren's eyes widened, her grip loosening on Elias's chest. From below, a sound rose, not a song, but a bell. A lighthouse bell, long broken, now tolling through the storm. Its mournful ring echoed across the sea, cutting through the siren's melody. The drowned figures shuddered. Their mouths closed. Their eyes flickered with something, almost human. The siren screamed, a sound sharper than glass. The water crashed against the walls, surging back toward the windows. Her face twisted with rage as the bell tolled again. Elias's lungs burned, but his chest broke free. He coughed, gasped, dragged in air that tasted of salt and rust. The siren's form blurred, her long hair twisting like smoke in the wind. The drowned figures dissolved into mist, their shapes breaking apart like foam. The sea roared as if pulling her back. Her voice shattered into silence. And then, she was gone. The water drained away, seeping into the cracks of the stones, leaving the lantern room cold and empty once more. Elias collapsed against the wall, shivering, his heart pounding like the storm outside. The lighthouse bell fell silent. Only the waves below remained, steady and endless. When he finally stood, dawn had begun to break. A pale light touched the horizon, chasing the night from the sea. He looked once more at the broken lantern room. The glass was still shattered. The gears still rusted. But in one shard, half buried in the floor, he saw his reflection. And just for a moment, her eyes blinked back at him,